For the best in paranormal talk radio, you're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary.
And that is me. The weather in Gig Harbor is just absolutely beautiful. I'm in seven heaven. I got the parts to fix my motorcycle for I can go for a ride this Wednesday. Oh, wow. What can I say? A lot of strange things are going on. And I'm going to bring on my co-host for tonight, Michael W. Hall, well known as the paranormal attorney. Hi, Michael. How you doing tonight?
Hello, Gary. It's wonderful out here in the interland of Edmonds, Washington as well. You're on the other side of the pond from me.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, tonight, I was reading actually today in the news, in Canada with their satellite system they use for detecting, signals from outer space, they got the lowest recording in megahertz ever of a space sound at 580 megahertz. That's really low in the radio band. And now also the scientists have, discovered in the solar system a massive rogue planet. It's just kind of like floating around there with no direction, not turning, not doing anything. It's just kind of like, there it is. They kind of figure it's maybe a planet that is halfway formed in a gas state, or they're not quite sure yet. And you know what, Michael? It just makes me wonder, I keep thinking Planet X. And then now, you think with all these people staring with these telescopes and all these telescopes, even the Catholic Church has, I'm surprised that they keep finding things in something this massive, way larger than the Earth.
Yeah. Wow. It's just amazing to believe in our own solar system, there's things like this hiding, and we haven't found them yet. So kind of lends to the theory of, we don't even know if there's other planets beyond Pluto that's part of our system, let alone Planet X may be heading our way as well. We don't know.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think it's time that we kind of do two things in this country we need to do very badly. One is our grid system. They need to make sure that our grid system, if it goes down, what's really bad, if it goes down in a major city, it could take out half the country. And if anything major, like a flare, like in the 1800s, where even a couple people who, were doing the Morse code, type of telegraph type thing, one of them got killed from the, put it this way, from the electricity from the solar flare that hit the lines and, fed right into him and made him into bacon. But you know what? We need to work on our grid system. The second is we need to spend more money and keep an eye out more what's going on there with meteorites and asteroids and rogue planets that could be coming our way. We don't spend enough money to really do a good job, and how can we even protect our country? After, last week when I was talking about they wanted to nuke the ice caps on Mars to create water and how ridiculous that idea was, I think all that money being spent for that research, they should put it where we need it. Because what happens if Planet X comes towards Earth? Do the insurance companies all go broke? Or do we all go bye-bye and don't have to worry about turning anything as a claim? Or even a meteorite, that hit Greenland here, last month. 2.1 kilotons of explosion right next to a military base, a U.S. base. It just hit the news like on Friday that it happened. Why does it take so long before us to find out? Now, I had a person call me up. He works for a law enforcement agency in Oregon. Told me that Saturday, him, his wife, and their child were about 20 miles from Tillamook, Oregon. I haven't done the research and distance from Peter Davenport's, sighting he had from one of his people. But this guy claims he saw like 3 aliens, walking near the road, coming out of the bushes. They looked like they had weapons of some sort. They saw him, and then they kind of like cloaked invisible, and he said it freaked him and his wife out so bad that he gunned it like you wouldn't believe to get out of here, out of there. And at this point, he's not sure if he wants to come on the show or not because he has a job in law enforcement. And, his credibility is very important. But he thought I should know about that. And I also did give him Peter Davenport's number.
Well, that's fascinating that this sighting of, did he say it was more than one alien or
three?
Two?
He said around three. And
oh my gosh!
And they looked like they were carrying weapons of some sort.
Yeah, because last week Peter Davenport was mentioning from the National UFO Reporting Center that in Newberg, Oregon, there was a sighting of two very tall and thin aliens dressed in some kind of a silver suited outfit, tight fitting, with matching green vests and calf-length high boots, black boots. No weapons that he noticed, but when he was driving past them on a country highway at 6:45 a.m., this was last week, or actually he said the 23rd of July, both of these aliens turned their heads simultaneously away from him as he drove by in his car. So they were obviously concerned that he didn't see their faces.
Now that is something I gotta say. He said that they were butt ugly, and he said they were pushing around 7 feet roughly in height. Now, being in law enforcement, I would pretty much judge his, being able, and he said in the range of 180-pound range.
Okay,
that it would be that would be thin if you're around 7 feet tall.
Yes, it would be very thin. Exactly.
Now we can talk more about this, but I need to get our guest in. Okay,
great.
So I'm going to give a call to Andrea right now. By the way, you know what?
What?
She shares the last name as you.
That's what I understand. Andrea Hall.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to meet her.
Yeah,
Hello.
Andrea, Gary from Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you got Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer, right here with me.
Hello, Andrea.
Huh? Hi.
Well, how's your day going, kid?
Yeah, it's going really well, thanks. And yours?
Well, anytime at my age, I wake up and I know where my car keys are. I know I'm still alive.
That's good. That's good.
But the guy next to me, my co-host, actually not next to me, he's like about 39 miles away from me. He slept in today, so he has no excuse. He's lazy.
My idea of sleeping in is like till 7:30 in the morning.
Well, I normally get up around 4 o'clock. Bad thing is doing this show, we have a huge audience out of the UK. And come about 1 o'clock, I start getting all these emails, texts, you name it. And so I usually, on a good night, I get to bed by 2 o'clock in the morning and get up around 4:30.
Oh my gosh, that's only 2.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I know.
That's a little bit to not function well on.
Not really. Now, what was your name again? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Michael, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit, what you do for a living?
Yes, Andrea, this is Michael W. Hall. I am from a Hall family that comes from Wales, actually. My father's side of the family, and my mother is French with the name LePage, and I was born in Walla Walla, Washington, but spent most of my life in this little old town of Edmonds, Washington, where I live right now, which is situated right on the Puget Sound, in a little seaport community with a ferry boat that runs across the Sound to the Olympic Peninsula from our little burg. But I went to law school in California and have been a lawyer for the last 30 years, but I've always been interested in the paranormal and UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and those kinds of things. So they ended up calling me the paranormal lawyer.
Ah, well, that's awesome. when he said I was going to get to chat with you tonight, I said, "Oh, that's interesting." I said my dad was named Michael Joseph. So I said, interesting
Wow.
that I'll be talking with a Michael W. this evening.
And my middle name is Wayne, named after my dad as well. So Joseph, interesting. Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to be able to meet you and talk with you tonight.
Yeah, I'm super excited to chat with both of you.
Well, from what I read on your bio, you were a criminal defense or a criminal attorney. I'm not sure if it was defense or prosecution side, but why don't you explain to the audience what happened and what you're into now and what caused all that?
Yeah, so I've been a criminal defense attorney for 13 years. I still wear the hat occasionally. I'm in the process of closing my practice and doing my equine stuff full time. Unfortunately, I still like to eat. So because I like to eat, I still have to work and do both things. And so for the past 13 years, I have been a criminal defense attorney specializing in sex offenses and domestic violence. And as you can imagine, that is very, very stressful. And so about it's going on, I guess, actually, it's been about 6 years because 3 years ago is when I had the emergency brain surgery. However, 6 years ago, I was in the middle of a 5-day trial, and my 18-month-old puppy had been sick, and she ultimately died the morning of closing arguments. And throughout this whole trial, I had been upset. I was coming in day after day looking like a train wreck, explaining to the judge, that I wasn't prepared and that my client, was not being served well by what was going on in my personal life, and it was ineffective assistance of counsel. And every day she was like, "Oh, you're doing a great job. You're just fine." And I was just like, "Oh." And the morning that the puppy died, I called in and I said, I have not had any sleep. My puppy died. I'm just really not prepared. Is there any way that you can send the jury home, send them for breakfast, and have them come back after lunch and at least give me some time to get my stuff together? And she basically said, "No, you have, an hour to get to court. We'll see you in an hour." And that was the end of it. And that was the first time that I had really experienced what my clients experience with judges not really being sympathetic to the circumstances that are going on in someone's life. And at the end of the case, I said, "You know what? I'm going to take some time off and just regroup." And as I took time off that summer and played with my nephew and went to the park and the pool and amusement parks and things I hadn't done for a really long time, I realized how unhappy I had become, and the kill for me in the courtroom was no longer enjoyable. And it was the first time in my life where I really didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do, where I was going to go. I had always known, when I graduated from high school, where I wanted to go to college, what type of degree I wanted to get, go to law school, and what area of law I wanted to practice in. And it was the first time I felt like I was out in the middle of the ocean just floundering, looking for answers. And so I really went on this really deep soul-searching experience for the next 3 years. And during that time, I started to become physically ill. And I was really searching out what was going on with me and, doing a lot of personal work. And about the time that I discovered what I really wanted to do was